In Walmart's Who Newville, everyone ready their cart. Amazing Black Friday deals are about to start. Online and in the app, such great deals to explore. Everything you love from tech, toys, and more. The days to save and the ones to remember. It's only the 25th to the 30th of November. Set your alarms. Don't miss out. These deals are epic, without a doubt. The Who's are all ready, but are you? Walmart Black Friday deals await. Who knew?
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the 5 of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do?
I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault. A new series streaming now only on Peacock.
Breaking news are happening now.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Reality Flash. My name is Mike Bloom, and I'm here to bring you the flashiest breaking news in the wild world of reality TV. Today, the 2025 Upfronts have just finished this week, and I will be upfront with you as to everything you need to know about what's coming up in terms of reality TV this fall. But first, at this point, I would never be one to fish for likes, but I'm always fishing for those subs and those tips. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. For whatever godforsaken reason, go to therealityflash.com to subscribe to make sure you don't miss a minute of any breaking news that might be coming your way through this podcast. And while you're there, please leave a rating, leave a review. Greatly appreciated. And of course, if there's any news out there in the world of reality TV that I haven't covered yet that you want to put on my radar for whatever reason, no solicitations, no spam, just tips at therealityflash.com. Again, just tips at therealityflash.com. But that's the only way we're talking about tips, okay, people? We're talking broadcast television for the family, though. We will see how many families will be watching some of the reality TV shows that I have for you today. So, for those of you that are unaware, the Upfronts are an annual tradition in the world of network TV. Basically, back in the day, they served as an opportunity for networks to present their slate of shows to advertisers. It has sort of grown over the years into this giant spectacle of a thing. I'll always remember one of the first Upfronts I went to was for NBC Universal back in maybe 2017 at this point. And at one point there was an entire freaking marching band playing a song from The Greatest Showman to just promote their Tuesday night lineup. It's truly ridiculous, and maybe one of the best and worst representations about the excess of capitalism that exists within the world of television. Lovingly so. But the events have slowly become, over time, an online way for everyone to find out about not only the upcoming schedules for shows from all of these various networks, but also what shows have been picked up, what shows have been canceled, and what shows are coming down the pike, be it completely new series or perhaps a revival of some truly nostalgic bites that we never thought we would be taking again. So I figured what I would do here is that we just had the Upfronts over the past 2 weeks. We have basically all of the major broadcast networks, which is CBS, NBC, Fox, ABC, and the CW / sort of Warner Brothers Discovery, plus Netflix as well, that presented their lineups formally as to what shows are coming up. And so I figured that I'm just going to distill some of this down, give you the real TLDR on what you need to know from these upfronts, specifically from the realm of reality slash unscripted TV. If you want to seek out what all of your, beloved scripted shows are doing in the fall, there's plenty of resources out there. We're only focusing on reality here on the Reality Flash. So I figured I might as well just go sort of like network by network in the order that they did their upfront slash their schedules were presented. And what I'll do is I'll basically give some top line items from previously slash currently existing shows, and then get a little bit into some of the new flavor stuff that might be coming our way as soon as right after this summer break. So of course, we got to start with CBS. Not only the first network to do an upfront this year, but of course, a network that is near and dear to all of our hearts here at RHAP. And CBS was interesting because they were probably the only network that had pretty much revealed before their upfronts everything that was coming back and everything that was canceled. So it kind of was just a matter of like, slotting in what goes where. There were no sort of dummy pieces in this proverbial puzzle, but there's still a couple of things to take away from the currently existing shows. Obviously, the big piece of news that sort of overshadowed a lot of this is what came in yesterday that I actually did a podcast about with Taryn Armstrong, where we have a Big Brother 27 premiere date. We do not have a finale date yet. We tried to put our heads together and try to come up with some best guess as to what that might be. But what will be interesting is how it coincides with, of course, the usual reality fall lineup for CBS, which will continue to be, of course, Wednesday nights, Survivor will yet again open with a 2-hour premiere, will yet again air typical 90-minute episodes. No word on premiere date yet. But what is interesting is that on the schedule, right after Survivor, will be 90-minute episodes of The Amazing Race 38. Now, that concept is not entirely new. In fact, it's something they have kind of settled on since they started doing these 90-minute episodes a couple of years ago. It's more so the fact that as the crow flies and the plane, we are encroaching upon the finale of an Amazing Race season right now. That means we will get a season in the spring and a season in the fall. I talked about this on the podcast with Jess, but real ones remember back in the day when this used to be a normality for the Amazing Race. Before then, it kind of like found its slot in the CBS lineup as sort of the fill-in show between Survivor seasons. Now it's its buddy. Now it's its neighbor, part of the neighborhood, not the show. And it will be airing in sort of back-to-back seasons here. It's the first time since 2022 when this happened with The Amazing Race 33 and 34. And outside of that, it makes it the second time in 10 years that this has happened, that we've gotten 2 Amazing Race seasons in 1 year. Now, there has been no further information outside of that. We do know that, eagle-eyed viewers have caught on to the fact that The Amazing Race 38 has finished. They're casting 39 right now. But even just getting the fact that it's airing in the fall is a key piece of information. I would say it's rather unexpected, though I have been taught in other realms that I should learn to expect that. So regardless of who's being cast, of course, that information will be revealed later on, along with any sort of themes, other surprises, perhaps quite literal, as we saw this past season. But regardless, I cannot wait to see which pairs will be making their way out of the house, getting on a plane, and starting their race around the world, be it friends, be it significant others, be it, parent and children, be it siblings. I always love the big brother or sister, little brother or sister relationship. So hopefully more information to come out about that, but we won't have to wait long after this week's finale for more Amazing Race coming down the pike. I would say the big new piece of reality TV news for CBS is a show that we've known about for a while, but is officially coming to CBS on Sunday nights in the fall at 9 p.m. And this is a show called The Road. Amazing Race is all about hitting the road, but this is quite literally The Road. So for the uninitiated, The Road is a show that is hosted or led by Blake Shelton and Keith Urban. It's a show that is created by executive producer Taylor Sheridan, who is responsible for essentially the Yellowstone extended universe, where if you ever see any of those Paramount Plus shows that just have numbers in them, that's Taylor Sheridan. You're welcome. But CBS is veering into a territory where they have trod a few times before, but not to great success, in my opinion, which is the singing series. We have seen our fair share of them, from the Rockstar NXS days to, I think it was called what, like The World's Greatest, where RuPaul was a panel member. So they're trying their hand again at essentially creating their own version of an American Idol or an America's Got Talent. What's interesting about The Road is that it seems to be primarily focused, given the title, on finding the next great touring artist specifically. This is not going to necessarily be one of these shows where they hold auditions and people come in and they go through a bunch of different rounds and then they end up on a stage and people vote for them, et cetera, et cetera. It seems like there is going to be an additional quality where they are going to be making their way through what a tour typically might be and all the trials and tribulations. I got a little bit of insight into this because Gretchen Wilson has been brought on as the tour manager. I wonder if this is like makes her the banker in Dondi speak, or like the Mountains Keeper in, unfortunately did not get renewed by CBS. And she talked with me a bit because, spoiler alert, she actually had won this most recent season of The Masked Singer, and said that The Road was really about separating what life is like as an artist versus as a touring artist, where you have to essentially be comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm intrigued to see how that experience is going to be represented in The Road proper. But hey, if you're a fan of country music, if you're a fan of those three artists in particular, you know, Blake and Keith Urban both have previous experience being judges on reality shows. This is not their first rodeo, in a manner of speaking. Or if you're into the idea of just a new singing show to holster, feel free to check out The Road. Let's go into, let's say Fox. Let's go into Fox next here. So Fox has really upped on its unscripted coverage. It's still got a lot of scripted stuff going on, most notably in its animated lineup, but to burgeon it out is a butt ton of unscripted content. They renewed Extracted, which was covered here on RHAP for season 2. They renewed The Floor, which is like this serialized game show that's taken the world by storm. They renewed Special Forces, World's Toughest Test. They renewed like the Gordon Ramsay suite of shows, which is Hell's Kitchen, Kitchen Nightmares, Next Level Chef, Master Chef. Something that should be noted is that one unscripted show has sort of been left out in the cold and will not come back until the cold months. The Masked Singer is taking a rare break in its airing. It just finished its 13th season, but unluckily for fans, it will be a while before season 14 comes around. It is slated to come back mid-season in January 2026. No reason has been given up to this point. Not sure if it's, kind of contractual conflict with some of the judges, if it's production feeling burnt out, or they feel like they've exhausted the list of celebrities to put on 2 editions of this a year. But they are scaling back a bit to seemingly, if not one version a year, at least taking a break in the fall. But we've got a couple of things in its place. So a new Gordon Ramsay show was announced called Next Level Baker, I believe, or Next Level Chef Baker. We love our colons here on Fox. I'm not just speaking about the age demo for these shows, but it seems to be sort of a take on Next Level Chef, which, for those of you that don't know, is a cooking competition series where there is like this massive set that has, it's almost like cooking class warfare, where I believe there's like these differentiated tiers that, depending on where you are, could have better equipment or might mean you're in a more prestigious place in the game. They are translating that into a baker side of things. So it'll be Next Level Chef essentially meets the Great British Baking Show. Perhaps Gordon Ramsay feels more at home in that regard. But the two I really want to get into are a couple of IPs that we assumed were put to rest in the 2000s mainly, but they have found their lives, an afterlife, if you will, once again here on Fox. And I'm talking about The Weakest Link and Fear Factor. So just some background for people. I'll start with Fear Factor here because this is probably the more like out and out quote reality show. Fear Factor first debuted in June 2001, and it was a very nouveau concept that honestly I think really informed a lot of the stigma of what people thought reality TV was for the longest time, which was this idea that you bring in people every single episode and they're going to have to quote unquote face their fears in the pursuit of some sort of cash prize. Sometimes that was doing these death defying stunts of like climbing across trucks or holding your breath as you dive 60 feet down to grab a key. Sometimes it was, for lack of a better term, just gross shit like eating bugs, or the one I always remember that I think actually got the show in trouble or got them the episode banned was like digging into bull testicles, which I think Joe Rogan now would consider like an actual legitimate potion for immortality. But back then, it was considered taboo. So the show was on for surprisingly, a 5-year period, did come back briefly for a revival from 2011 to 2012, went away again, like a groundhog, poked its head back up, but this time in a very different hole because it was revived on MTV from 2017 to 2018. You might remember this. I did a podcast with Rob where they did a amalgamation of Big Brother pairings / Survivor pairings because Beast Mode Cowboy was a part of it. And it was like him and Zach Rance and Rachel and Alyssa were there, I think. But that lied dormant too. And now it is reaching its third set of parents here. Its third home on Fox. And it's going to be called Fear Factor: The Next Chapter. I don't know if they purposely meant to invoke the name of the It sequel that was done many years back. But it's weird because the fear factor of it all is kind of like the forefather of some of these, shocking reality series that we have experienced over the past 25 plus years. So to see it come back, it's a little like Rodney Dangerfield back to school. Can the concept be considered antiquated at this point? Can it be updated for a new audience? What are the fears that we have now, God willing, that they are going to test everyone's mettle with here on Fear Factor? The other show that Fox is bringing back is a quiz show, first developed by British TV, but really took the American consciousness by storm in the early 2000s, called The Weakest Link. If you were around at some point, even if you're just a zygote in the early 2000s, you probably heard through osmosis the phrase, "You are the weakest link, goodbye." It was a hit game show where essentially there would be like a group of people that would simultaneously compete as a team, trying to chain quiz questions off of one another to sort of bank a big pot that someone will win at the end. But there's also a sort of strategic element in that at the end of each round, you would vote off the quote unquote weakest link. Though, again, as we saw even in competitive reality TV back in those days, it's a very operative term. Sometimes you want to get rid of your biggest threat towards the end. It was hosted by the inimitable Ann Robinson, who just brought this like acerbic, dry wit to all of the American malarkey. So, Stomp, you've heard this before. After The Weakest Link's initial cancellation, it was revived, very recently revived, actually, from September 2020 through April 2024. Last spring, The Weakest Link revived on NBC. It was hosted by Jane Lynch. I believe they updated a bit where they used like picture clues as well, because that's how Sue sees it. So a little surprising, obviously not nearly of a hiatus between seasons as it is for Fear Factor, but Fox will be bringing it back, and it will be called Celebrity Weakest Link. I mean, given the class of clientele we typically get from shows like The Masked Singer, celebrity is an always loose term, especially in 2025. But it seems like they are sort of eschewing the civilian concept and really going with celebrities and only celebrities. So expect sort of like the beat Shazam, I Can See Your Voice, name that tune, running repertory bit of players to probably recur on The Weakest Link as well. So intrigued to see what these bits of nostalgia are going to do for Fox in general, and if they'll be as well received as they were mass successes over 20 years ago. I'll be back in a flash to tell you more about the rest of what I learned from the 2025 Upfronts right after this.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Purina believes no one should have to make the impossible choice between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit purina.com/purple to learn more.
Hello, I'm Diane Morgan. If you know who I am, you know who I am. If you don't, who cares? I'm here to explain Italian Time, a holiday phenomenon where Italians throw away their clocks and gather for eternity with San Pellegrino. I've been at this party so long that I've eaten 5 courses, hugged someone's grandma twice, and been offered a job in the family restaurant. So this holiday season, make sure to bring enough San Pellegrino to last you through the meal, the after meal, and the entire goodbye ritual. San Pellegrino, holiday on Italian Time.
All right, let's continue on our road down the Upfronts, not to be confused with the road over to NBC. Of course, the Peacock Network, but the only color we saw in terms of its programming was red, because a lot of blood was let. For those of you that don't know, NBC jettisoned a good amount of its scripted programming. I believe it was to make room for all of this NBA coverage that they got licensing over coming up for the new season, which unfortunately came at the cost of a lot of scripted content. But we still got some unscripted content. It's not necessarily getting benched here. It's part of the starting 5. So The Voice, yet again, coming back for, I believe, season 28 in the fall. And its rotating panel of judges will be familiar faces. So we have Michael Bublé, who will continue to occupy that seemingly permanent seat for the 3rd season in a row. We've got Reba, who has been making a home on NBC with Happy's Place. She'll be back for her 4th season. Niall Horan, formerly of One Direction, will be back for his 3rd season. And the D.O.G.G., Snoop Doggy Dogg, will be back for his double season here, his 2nd season as part of the panel. Not a lot of new unscripted television, with one exception. An incredibly intriguing concept, much like the Rob and Sandra Tribal Council booth from the one, the only Jimmy Fallon. This is a series called On Brand with Jimmy Fallon. And the press release for this show says it is about, quote, the most creative, clever, and competitive go-getters that Jimmy Fallon can find, apparently firsthand, team up to create winning marketing campaigns. Here's a little bit more information. In each episode, the on-brand agency creatives will work with a major brand in need of a big idea for a massive, high-priority campaign. From creating earworm jingles and unbelievable activations to producing the most quotable commercials and must-have merchandise. They will have unprecedented access to the client's businesses before pitching their vision to a brand representative, along with St. John and Fallon, with only the best ideas moving on to proof of concept and the opportunity to see their campaign brought to life on the national stage after each episode. In a final big assignment, one visionary will be named the best in the business, given a cash prize, and provided the experience of changing the cultural landscape. All the creatives will truly need to flex their innovative muscles to turn the unfinished into the forgettable. The only rule, the best idea wins. With no shade, I do not know if that applied to the executives that were being pitched this concept. A marketing reality show. Okay, so my first blush at this, to be candid, maybe it's the NBC of it all, but my brain at least goes back to a lot of the tried and true tasks that we've seen on The Apprentice back during its day, where it felt like, especially from the celebrity version, like every other challenge was either a fundraising task or it was a like, hey, come up with a commercial for Tide detergent where Clint Black will make a lot of masturbation euphemisms, where Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk, will dance with a mop, where Gary Busey will bark like a robot dog in response to a smart fridge. It seems like they're doing that, but a more like actual serious version of this. It seems like there will be civilian competitors here. I don't know if the people that will be competing will have worked in marketing previously. Like, are these marketing upstarts looking for a foot in the door? Are these like regular people that like to edit videos on the side and would like to fancy themselves an opportunity to try out marketing? I'm not entirely sure. They have a whole laundry list, speaking of Tide, of a bunch of different sponsors that will be brought in. So I imagine the concept every week will be like, here's Folgers Coffee. Try to write up a social media campaign for them. I'm really intrigued to see how this is going to translate to the screen. We've seen like filmmaking reality shows in the past. I'm thinking about On the Lot as an example of like, okay, how can you make interesting the idea of conceptualizing an idea and bringing it to prominence? So I'm incredibly interested to see if the initial concept of On Brand with Jimmy Fallon will get brought to life and end up executed as a good campaign. And I don't know if it's not too late. Does anyone want to apply Brandon Donlin to that, considering all the awesome marketing work he's done for RHAP? Just saying, he doesn't need to know. Let's move on to ABC. So not a lot of new in terms of unscripted for ABC as well. And this is information that we largely didn't find out through the upfronts, but actually through, I think it was called like Hulu Get Real event, where it was a reality TV specific panel series of events done by all of the reality shows within the general Disney umbrella. It has little mouse ears on the top of it. That's how you know it's the Disney umbrella. That happened about like 3 weeks ago or so, but just some information that was confirmed over the past few weeks for those who missed it. Dancing with the Stars will be back for its newest season in the fall, which has sort of become its sort of permanent home, much like maybe what's going to happen with The Masked Singer. It used to air 2 seasons a year. Now it's sort of settled into the fall only. And we do have the first celebrity confirmed. Of course, the summer is going to be a buzz with plenty of people that we want to see, that will be seen on our screens. But Robert Irwin, the conservationist and son of the late Steve Irwin, will be appearing on Dancing with the Stars. He had a rather salacious announcement where he walked out shirtless with a boa around his neck, like straight out of something Jace Wiry could only dream up. So we shall see if him and the other like cavalcade of animals will follow him to the dance floor. Hopefully his partner will have something to say about that. It's also fun because I believe he will be on exactly 10 years after his sister Bindi was on the show and won. So he has big shoes to fill, big hoof prints to follow in a manner of speaking. But if there's someone who knows how to do that, it is an Irwin. Also returning this fall is The Golden Bachelor. Now, as I reported on before, there's been a lot of shakeups behind the scenes as to who exactly is running The Golden Bachelor, but it's much like a duck, paddling furiously underneath, but bobbing right at the top is the same older, genial white man just looking for love late in life. This season's lead for The Golden Bachelor is Mel Owens. He is 66 years old, and he has notably played some professional football in the past. Maybe he, crossed paths with Gary Hawkins at some point. He played on the, I believe it was then the St. Louis Rams or maybe the Los Angeles Rams for 9 seasons in the 80s. And The Golden Bachelor caught on like wildfire when it first came out, prompted a spinoff, The Golden Bachelorette. I know that Golden Bachelor contestants, I believe, are appearing on Bachelor in Paradise this summer. So this really is substantiating itself as a permanent part of, let's face it, a very transient franchise at this point. Let's go to Netflix next. Let's make our way off from broadcast to streaming for a hot second. Couple of tidbits from Netflix's Tadum series of reveals here. Million Dollar Secret has been renewed for season 2. Million Dollar Secret has been celebrated, I believe, as I think maybe Andy Danhart put it best as like the rare Netflix reality show to not be produced and edited like a Netflix reality show. For those of you who don't know the concept, essentially, it sort of is their like Traitors adjacent type of show where there is a group of people and one of them is privately given the role of like the millionaire. And essentially the goal is for the other people to vote the millionaire out of the game, to suss out who's the one with the most net worth to them, and to quite literally eat the rich. If you haven't checked out our coverage on Nothing But Netflix that Chappelle and Scally have done, really highly recommended. It is a very, very fun show, and the concept itself really works too. So I'm excited they're getting another opportunity for that for season 2. Also renewed for season 4, Love on the Spectrum. If you have not watched Love on the Spectrum, and you, like many people, have become bowled over by the storyline of Eva and Joe on Survivor this season, even being the first openly autistic contestant in the series history. Definitely check out Love on the Spectrum. It is this series that looks at a bunch of different people who are on the spectrum and their attempts to find love. It is serialized, so you follow a lot of people between seasons, check in with them from time to time in their pursuit of love. I genuinely mean it. It is one of the most delightfully wholesome shows that is out there. So if you're ever looking for that proverbial bite of sorbet to sometimes cleanse whatever you're watching out of your mouth, please check out Love on the Spectrum. But listen, you thought we were done with networks reviving shows that have been, wasting away in its grave for long enough? No. I've got one more up my sleeve here. Star Search. So for those of you, maybe those in Mel Owens' age bracket in a manner of speaking, might remember Star Search. It ran from 1983, I believe, to 1995. It was hosted by Ed McMahon, heyo, and essentially it was one of the first, besides maybe American Bandstand, one of the first majorly televised talent shows that was out there. There were a bunch of different categories where there were singers, both adult and kid singers. There were groups, there were dancers, there were even comedians that got brought in. Some people got their start on Star Search, like Dave Chappelle, Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake. They've all appeared on Star Search, and they would essentially get rated by the judges on a scale of stars. The audience would vote for them as well. And basically, if you win, it's sort of Jeopardy in that if you won enough shows in a row, then you sort of get brought back for the final round, or you get brought into the next round, and then there would eventually be a championship that would be crowned, and each person within each category, which is male vocalist, female vocalist, vocal group, comedy, dance, would be awarded $100,000. Again, it kicked off the careers of a lot of different people in the 80s and 90s. It was brought back, I believe, for a brief portion of time in the early 2000s. I think it only ran from 2003 to 2004. It makes sense in the height of American Idol and, America's Got Talent really starting up. They're we're going to try our hand at this. Anyone remember Star Search? The star had fallen, but it has risen once again. It's become a little bit of a dwarf star. So here's what Netflix had to say about it. This time around, the talent is bigger, the stakes are higher, and the format is more interactive than ever. Each week on Star Search, emerging performers in music, dance, comedy, and kids acts will take the stage to compete for a shot at the spotlight. The competition unfolds over time, with eliminations raising the stakes and plenty of surprises along the way. It's part talent showcase, part high-stakes drama, and it's all live on Netflix. The reboot builds on the rich legacy of the show that helped launch the careers of a number of the industry's biggest names. So, interestingly and understandably, they're trying to sort of peg this as it's a talent competition, but there's also high-stakes drama and voting to it. It seems like also they intend to air this live, which, listen, for Love is Blind fans, they might know how much live reality TV happening on Netflix has not had the cleanest history, but it seems like it's been okay as of late with like live streaming wrestling on there, live streaming the NFL. You know, John Mulaney's talk show has been live there too. So maybe they've worked out the kinks enough to feel like Star Search is ready to make its way back. Or maybe it will all go supernova. Who's to say? One last thing I'm going to bring up is going to Warner Brothers Discovery for a hot second. This was just too much fun and not to end on. Again, this is the best job in the world. I get to talk about how truly ridiculous reality TV as a genre gets to be, as Discovery has announced a new Shark Week special called, and I kid you not, Dancing with Sharks. I don't know if that's supposed to be a take on Dances with Wolves, Dancing with the Stars, or both. Probably the latter, because it is hosted by Tom Bergeron. And for Dancing with the Stars fans, you might remember Tom Bergeron was the long-tenured host of that show up until I think like season 28 or 29, where essentially he got let go, firing some disagreement over some casting choices that had happened. And now he's finally back. Part of me wonders if he like thought he was being brought back for Dancing with the Stars and just like didn't read the name of the show well enough, didn't have his readers on, and so says like, wait, I have to get into a wetsuit. What am I doing? Where am I going? This is what the press release has to say. Hosted by Emmy Award-winning television personality Tom Bergeron, with I'm sure not a hint of regret, Dancing with Sharks is a new Shark Week 2025 special that features an unprecedented underwater dance competition between expert divers and their shark partners. Hopefully it's platonic. Blending skill, grace, and the daring pursuit of the ultimate underwater thrill, 5 divers, all trained by a world-class underwater choreographer. All I'm imagining is like that old SNL skit about the synchronized swimmers with Martin Short and Christopher Guest. But this eclectic individual will train these divers, and the divers will compete to show off their skills during epic underwater dances. Each diver will attempt to outperform their competitors with moves including the Hammerhead Hoedown and Tiger Trot, and redefine Dancing with Danger. There we go. Jeff Probst is rethinking that Meke challenge from Fiji. They will have one shot to wow the judges and be crowned the first ever champion of Dancing with Sharks. One of the cardinal rules of entertainment is that do not work with children or animals. It feels like more than this rule is being broken in terms of morality. I mean, color me incredibly interested in the idea of dancing with sharks. I mean, I guess these divers know what they're doing. I'd be intrigued to see how many limbs are left intact by the end of this, because at least I've been taught you shouldn't get near enough to a shark to want to dip it and engage in some sort of partner dance. Who knows? We might see showmances develop like any good dancing show. Who's to say? But regardless, there's a lot of fins on the horizon when it comes to unscripted TV, and I cannot wait to take a bite out of all the great stuff that is coming their way before the sharks end up taking a bite out of me. But what do you all think? What is something that intrigues you the most, either out of this new lineup or some of the changes that are coming with some currently existing reality shows? Feel free to let us know in the comments and on social media. And again, make sure you don't miss a beat of any of the stuff we have going on. Go to therealityflash.com, where I'm bringing you, breaking news like with Big Brother yesterday, or I'm bringing you general news roundups like we just did with the Upfronts. A real catch-all smorgasbord of content here on the Reality Flash. And if you have something to add to that, proverbial buffet, no spam, no solicitations, just tips at therealityflash.com. And God forbid a shark bite one of those tips. Keep your tips covered, people. That's going to do it for this edition of the Reality Flash. I know that was a lot of information, but hope people enjoy getting a basic download as to all the exciting, intriguing new content coming to the world of unscripted TV this fall and beyond. I'll be back in your eyes and ears soon with more breaking news from the wild world of reality TV as it happens. Until next time, everybody, be you've just been flashed.